Hi everyone, so now that I've run over 500 kilometers in the Adizero Adios Pro, I thought I'd give you a quick video to let you know about some of the technology and how I've got on with them. Before I get into the tech, I'm going to give you a little quote from one of the footwear development managers at Adidas Running to say kind of why the shoe was designed and how. So essentially, the Adios Pro was designed to create the best. We knew you had to work with the best. Thousands of kilometers, months of testing, and dozens of prototypes went into something designed to help athletes run faster, for longer, but with the same energy than ever before. So the whole idea is that these shoes will make you more efficient in the long run, whether it's half marathons and marathons. Last year, we've seen a lot of good results despite there being not very many races, and I'll get into some of those results after going into the tech and how I found them. So I received my pair, the first pair, back in early October, just before the virtual London Marathon. I basically did one easy 20k run just before the virtual London Marathon to wear them in, and then did the event in them. So I found them super comfortable straight out of the box. I was a little bit apprehensive to begin with. Like I said in my last video, I've always ran in the Adios and the Boston, but you're always a little bit worried when you try something new with new technologies and new cushioning, whether you're going to get on well with it and it's going to feel as responsive or as comfortable. But yeah, these have kind of blown me away. In terms of the technologies, it is a lot different to the Adios. I know it shares the name, but it kind of comes back to the heritage of the Adizero range. So, and that all started in 2008 at the Berlin Marathon, where Haile Gebrselassie was given the first Adizero Adios 1, and he broke his own world half marathon record, and broke the 2:04 barrier for the first time. So initially he wasn't going to be wearing those shoes. He was given the prototype the night before the race, but he really liked the feel of them just running up and down the hallway, and then went and broke that marathon world record, and the rest is kind of history. So yeah, onto these. In terms of technology, the upper is called Celamesh. You might even be able to see, if I get the right angle, you should be able to see through there. It's a super lightweight and breathable upper. Really good. Obviously, when you're racing kind of half marathons and marathons, you don't want to be carrying around a super heavy upper with loads of overlays and stitching, which is just going to weigh you down. So yeah, I found this really, really comfortable. In terms of fit in the toe box, it's nice and spacious. Kind of gives your toes room to splay, and obviously over the longer distances your feet heat up and expand a lot, so generally you want between half to a full thumb's width of room at the front. And I found that I had that in these, which was really good. Obviously when the uppers kind of feels a little bit looser, especially in the forefoot, you then definitely need to have that kind of nice snug lockdown across the midfoot, and the way that Adidas have done that with these is through a gusseted tongue. So essentially it's kind of stitched into the upper and sort of built in there so that it wraps around your foot and gives you a really snug fit across the top. Something that Adidas have done with these, which I think is really clever, because generally the Adizero range comes up a little bit narrower, is that they've added these extra eyelets so you can open up the lacing if you do have a slightly broader foot. So that's quite a clever way of getting around that. Personally, I've got quite narrow feet, so they fit me really well, just straight out of the box. In terms of then fit in the heel, it's kind of nice and solid down the Achilles, kind of nice amount of structure, but then still a little bit of softness and give, and not kind of super padded. Again, you don't want to add any extra weight when you're wanting to be racing in them and achieving your personal bests. And yeah, they're designed for the elite athletes to be breaking those world records, and that's what we've seen last year in a few races. So on to the midsole, and this is where you kind of get your money's worth out of these shoes. So it doesn't have boost, it doesn't have the normal Light Strike EVA, it's got Light Strike Pro foam, and a lot of it. This is where kind of that dampening comes in. Obviously over the longer distances you want that shock absorption so that your legs and your body aren't kind of feeling that impact and getting tired and fatigued until you've finished the marathon and achieved your personal best. Basically with the Light Strike Pro, there are kind of 2 wedges of it, and in between the 2 wedges is the carbon components. So in the heel, it's got a carbon heel plate, which basically acts for stability and again that dampening. And then through the forefoot, which you can almost see the energy rods a little bit coming through the outsole there, are energy rods. So Adidas have not gone for a full length carbon plate in these like they did with the Adizero Pro, which is more of a racing flat. They've gone for energy rods, which makes it a little bit more anatomical. Essentially, they match your metatarsals. So when you're going through kind of your gait cycle through midfoot, forefoot, it's going to feel a bit smoother. And when you're pushing down on each metatarsal, each toe, it's going to feel smoother through transition. And that's what I found even on that first easy run. I was trying to do a couple of easy kilometers just to find my way into the run, but I found them getting me up onto my midfoot and forefoot, toeing off a little bit quicker, and they felt most natural running sort of around 4.5 minute K pace, 4:15, which is obviously sub 3 marathon pace, which is where these are kind of targeted at. But having said that, I think if you're looking to push the pace, do some speed sessions, do a quick 5K, 10K, I think, yeah, this shoe will suit a lot of different people. It just depends kind of what pace you can hold for what distances. So yeah, I think there's been a big demand for this shoe, and I know why. In terms of the energy rods, like I say, it helped me feel super smooth on the virtual London Marathon day. It just felt really efficient clipping along, and once you get into a rhythm, your legs just feel like they're sort of spinning around, and you kind of feel like your body's falling and your legs are kind of just motoring along, almost, yeah, kind of like the Roadrunner. In terms of then the grip on the outsole, I was a little bit surprised on this that it didn't have Continental, but then having Continental I think would have put the price up a little bit, so I kind of do understand it. With this kind of sticky rubber outsole, initially when you kind of first run your hand over it, it feels quite smooth, but when you're pushing into it and when you're running, you're putting 2 to 3 times kind of pressure through your feet and into the ground, you can feel that it is actually nice and sticky. And now that I've obviously worn them in over 500 kilometers, they do provide a really good amount of grip. On the virtual London Marathon day, it was a little bit wet as well on the country lanes in Chelmsford, but going around corners, I didn't kind of have any issues at all. Yeah, I was really impressed. In terms of grip in the heel, that's the only real sign of a little bit of wear, is that you can see the grips worn out here on the outside. But I think that might be my fault a little bit because I've worn them for probably more miles than I maybe should have, and easier runs where I'm landing a bit further back on my heel. So yeah, overall I've been quite impressed with the wear, and yeah, there's no real signs of the Lightstrike Pro being worn down, and I think I should be able to get another good couple of 100 kilometers out of them. They do say that they recommend more sort of like 300 to 500 kilometers in a shoe like this for its maximum performance if you want to race in it. So most people will be kind of, if you can get hold of it, stashing it away for races or aiming for your personal bests or those time trials rather than using it for a lot of mileage. But I've started using this more recently because I've got another pair stashed for when races hopefully do come back to us soon. Like I say, overall really impressed, and some of the results kind of have backed up the technology that is in the shoe. Going into some of the key stats, in terms of weight, it's 225 grams. I know when you look at this and you think of all that cushioning, you think, oh, that's going to be kind of quite heavy. But no, that Lightstrike Pro is nice and light. And also helps that the cellar mesh is nice and kind of synthetic and quite thin, and then there aren't any extra overlays and things like that, or padding in the heel. In terms of the heel to toe drop, it's 8.5 in terms of a heel to toe, so it's 39 at the back here and then 31.5 in the forefoot. I've taken photos of this next to things like the Adizero Pro or kind of other racing flats, and you can really see kind of how much cushioning there is. Generally, there's kind of as much cushioning in the forefoot here as there is in the back of some of those other racing flats. So yeah, definitely saves your legs from the impact, which is what I found has been one of the biggest benefits. I felt fresher after doing that sub 3 marathon, the virtual London, and after doing long runs or hard sessions. I feel like I'm recovered definitely the next day or two a lot quicker than if I'd have done a really hard effort in an Adios or a Boston really. In terms of colourways, this was kind of one of the shoes that was more widely available, the Dream Mile colourway. The most recent one was the Solar Yellow, which is the one I've got stashed away, and price point £170 is an absolute steal. Some of the other brands, the competitors, their shoes, their super kind of marathon racing shoes, are £250, which is kind of crazy when you think how much mileage they're sort of designed for racing. You're going to get through them quite quickly, and I've seen that some of the technology kind of can wear down quite quick, but like I say, haven't seen any of that in this. In terms of the results, the kind of most recent results really are from Valencia, where there was the half marathon and marathon. Kibiwot Candy, he broke the half marathon world record and lowered that to 57:32, which is shifting. That is seriously quick. In the same race, Ronox Kripruto, he got the third fastest half marathon debut of 57:49. It was a super quick race. Yeah, lots of properly stacked field, and Valencia looks like an amazing place to go and run a half marathon and marathon. It's definitely high up on my list. In the marathon, Adidas also had the winners of both the women's and the men's race. On the men's side, Evans Chibet got the 6th fastest marathon time in history of 2:03, and Perez Jepchir, who's been smashing it in this shoe in quite a few races, she got the 5th fastest women's marathon time of all time in 2:17:15. So yeah, lots of great results in them to back up kind of the claims and the technology in the shoe, and lots of athletes putting the shoe to good use. I'm trying to get in more training so that I can make the most of the technology. I feel like I wasn't really in the shape to use them to their maximum potential back in October, but looking forward to when there are more races and seeing what we can get out of these. Looking forward to the next iterations as well. I think the Adios Pro 2 is in the pipeline in the next couple of months, hopefully a few months before the Olympics, and again, fingers crossed that those can go ahead. And the rest of the Adizero range is being updated, and there's a lot to kind of keep your eyes peeled for. Really excited about some of those shoes, and they'll be really good for training. And again, I think the biggest benefit will be that recovery rate, and yeah, being more efficient and be able to push the pace more and more. So yeah, really excited about that. Keep your eyes peeled. If you're not following Protos of a Gram, I recommend following them. I think they've shared a few photos or a few sneak peeks of the new Adizero range. So yeah, lots to look forward to.